going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the brand new Segway Xaber X300. It's been 6 years since the release of their original dirt bike models, and since then they've clearly been working on something big, because this electric dirt bike has some of the most impressive hardware and especially software features I've ever seen, not just on an electric dirt bike, ever, just in general. At first I was impressed with the 21 kilowatt peak power, 72 volt, 44 amp hour battery with the high discharge cells, the long travel Marzocchi suspension. But then when you start taking a look at the electronics, it makes you feel like this bike is straight out of the future. Now you might be thinking, yeah, you're just some YouTube influencer who got this bike and they're gonna try and sell it, who's gonna overly exaggerate their excitement.
Oh my God, guys, you will not believe this. Look at this insane display.
And then later put some big, bug-eyed, excited facial expression on the thumbnail for the video. But considering this bike has things like a GPS-based security system with an alarm where you can geofence it, and the rear wheel even locks up if it starts to move. Rear wheel is locked. Can't move it. If the bike moves, you get notifications straight to your phone. This bike also has things like traction control to help you maximize grip and control. Let's try and get the rear tire to spin out. Here we go. Yeah, it really cuts the power. If you're riding and you happen to stop on a hill, this bike also has an automatic park mode where it locks up the rear wheel. I'm on a hill and I'm not moving. To make sure you don't roll down the hill if you don't want to, and it automatically turns off when you hit the throttle. And besides the 4 modes this bike has, where the highest mode being beast mode gives you 20 kilowatts of power, you can even make your own modes for this bike and fully tune them with power curves and top speed settings. This bike has so many different software features. If we were to go in depth into all of them, I wouldn't be able to include all of that in today's video. And so if you want an in-depth, deep dive look into the software of this bike, I made a whole separate video, and I'll leave that somewhere right here, whichever side of the screen it shows up on, in the corner of your screen, and it's gonna be linked in the description below. The current list price of this bike is $52.99, but as you already know, prices are always fluctuating based on whatever sale could be going on. So to get the most up-to-date price, click the link in the description below, or use your phone to scan the QR code on the screen, which will bring you straight to the bike's website. But don't buy this electric dirt bike just yet, because first we're gonna take a look at the specs and components, and then after that we're gonna take it out on the trails for a test ride. And after all that, you'll have everything you need to know about the brand new Segway Xaber X300. Let's jump right in. The Segway X300 is a mid-sized 187-pound electric dirt bike that comes with a 19-inch front wheel and a 17-inch rear wheel. This bike comes in either the shred velvet red color or the black diamond color. The frame of this bike is made from aerospace-grade aluminum and advertises high rigidity and strength. This bike has a weight of 187 pounds with a wheelbase of just under 51 inches. It's got an advertised payload capacity of 330 pounds and is made for riders between 5'5" and 6'1". The UL certified battery and display have an IPX7 water resistance rating, and the rest of the bike has an IPX5 rating. Look at this, Segway X300. This thing showed up fully assembled. Let's see what we got. My favorite part. Pretty basic looking foot pegs with that X cross branding on it. Down here we have a tag as to how to adjust the suspension. Let's see what's in here. All right, let's see what's in the box. Manufacturer certificate of origin. Very nice. That means you could register this. Looks like we got some manuals. This is a spanner wrench for adjusting the suspension right over here. Very happy to have this, and of course it is Segway branded. Extra bolts. Let's take a look at the charger. I've never seen this style of charger before. This is new. Of course, it is actively cooled with a fan, Lots of heat sinks on it to keep it cool. And in this little pouch, looks like we get some kind of NFC tag, 2 keys, and an NFC key card. Look at that, we got info on how to adjust the fork. And for my favorite part, if you guys saw my initial impressions video of this bike, I did mention how much I like the looks of this bike. It's one of my favorite color combinations, and I think Segway did such a good job styling this bike. Again, it looks like it came straight out of the future with the X headlight and the X rear light. And they managed to get this style with not that much plastic on the bike, which I really do appreciate. That's gonna give it a bit more durability. In my opinion, I think this is one of the best looking electric dirt bikes on the market. This bike has some plastic right here, which is actually fairly durable. It is great for lifting the bike. I've lifted the bike many times using this area, and it doesn't feel like it's gonna break like on some other bikes. Or some other bikes don't have anything and you have to figure out how to lift it. We got some more plastic right here with the Segway branding, and a little bit more up top, tiny bit more down below. Not a whole lot of plastic. The controller sits right up in front, making sure as the bike is moving, it's gonna get plenty of airflow. The bottom has this almost like plastic dash panel. This plastic does feel pretty thick. For fenders, we get front and rear plastic fenders. And this fender is durably mounted. It is not gonna go anywhere. And I guess this would be the back fender. Super solid. I wouldn't lift the bike using this part, but it does feel way more durable than some other electric bikes that I've tested. The seat on this bike is nice and wide. This is actually a nice quality seat, and I would expect something like this from a premium company. It feels super durable as well. No issues with the seat whatsoever. I don't think people are really gonna be replacing this seat. And the minimum seat height is somewhere around 33 inches. With this bike, you get 2 keys. Here's the key port. Put the thing in the thing, turn. The seat unlocks, and then we can take the whole seat off. Which means that if you did want to replace this seat, it will be very easy. There's that seat locking mechanism. I think this is the security module for the bike. And if you were out on the trails and you needed to do some emergency maintenance on the bike, Segway even thought of that. Because underneath here, we get a little toolkit. Check that out. Let's put that back so I don't lose anything. These handlebars do have a little bit of rise to them, and they do seem to be attached to these risers as well. And these handlebars are just about 31 inches wide. Here's what the turning radius looks like. Not a whole lot, but that's not going to interfere with your riding. Cable management looks pretty good. It's routed directly behind this headlight, and then it runs through the fork and goes right into the frame. On the handlebars, we have these rubber grips, which do not twist at all. These things are solid. And on the right side, we've got a full twist throttle. As you can tell, this bike has a ton of different controls. Let's go over each of them. There's a few ways to turn this bike on, including using your phone, but today we're gonna use this NFC key that it came with, and we're gonna put that up to this NFC label. There it is. Here's what this headlight looks like. It stays on the whole time. You can adjust it in the settings to make sure this stays off if you wanted to, but this would be what the low beam looks like. And it also has this high beam setting. Here's what that looks like. And pushing the bottom button will flash that high beam. Check that out. Here's what the bike looks like with the headlight off. This transparent plastic does look very cool on the front headlight. Here's what that rear light looks like, and it doesn't seem to change when you hit the brake. It stays the same. I would have liked this to function as a brake light. We also get this cool looking lighting effect right here. It would have been nice if the NFC key fit right in there to turn the bike on or off. Unfortunately, you have to put it over here for some reason. This would have been perfect. Now this button right here does not work. Looks like it is perfectly set up for turn signals and hazard lights. I don't know if Segway is going to be releasing an official kit to make this bike road legal. Stay tuned for that. I'm sure there are other kits that you can probably buy online and install and wire directly into this bike. It does actually have a 12-volt line that you can tap right into. So that'd be kind of cool if you could just access those controls and with them use any turn signal kit you want. Down here we have the horn button and it is extra loud. Man, wow. Here's what that horn sound comes out of. And right here is a reverse button where when you hold it down and you twist the throttle, the bike will slowly roll backwards. Looks like it's got a cruise control label as well. And on the very top is a set button, and pressing that makes it so that we can adjust a wheelie angle. I haven't tried it yet, but allegedly this bike has or will have some software in place where it'll prevent the bike from looping and wheeling out of control, so you can adjust the wheelie angle. Maybe I can even learn how to wheelie on this bike. And on this side, we have a selector switch for the settings. Pressing that down will show us some energy efficiency information, your odometer, trip meter. Look at that, it even shows you how many watt hours you get per mile. That is so cool that you can see that. After that, pressing the down button will let you see other settings like traction control, your energy recovery settings, the electronic brake settings, the low beam light, which we have enabled, whether you see miles an hour or kilometers an hour, the language, and more. Check this out, this wire right here goes to a sensor in the front brake rotor, but this is probably how they get the traction control to work, because if the speed of the back wheel is faster than the speed of the front wheel, the bike will sense that the rear wheel is spinning. Segway does have an app for this bike where you can adjust all the little settings of this bike and really fine-tune this bike and make it perfect for your riding style. And to exit that menu, you long press that same button, which will bring us back to the main menu. And just like a real motorcycle, we have a power switch where even if the bike is on, it will not give you power. So right now it's set to on, switch that off, and now we won't get any power whatsoever. This is a great safety feature to have. As you can tell, currently the bike is in park mode, and if we twist the throttle, it tells us that we have to lift the kickstand, because this electric dirt bike does have a kickstand sensor, which is a great safety feature to make sure you don't whiskey throttle the bike. With that kickstand up, it even asked me to press the start button, which is right up here. There it is, and now we'll be able to move.
I almost forgot to mention that if you're a fan of how gas motorcycles work, this button on the front of the handlebar will give you an optional simulated clutch, just like a gas dirt bike.
The mode button on the right-hand side controls the power levels. Now the power levels on this bike are labeled to emulate the different sized engines on regular gas dirt bikes. The lowest level is 150, made to mimic a 150cc dirt bike. Next up is 200. After that is 300. And then beast mode, which will give you full power, full 21 kilowatts. And to turn the bike off, you can just hold the green button and the bike is now off. And so are the lights. Check this out. So I just moved the bike back down on the kickstand and it gave me that abnormal movement alert. See that? It even says it's locked right now. If I move the bike, look at that. It gives me an alert and it locked up the rear wheel. I cannot move this bike now. That is so cool. You could even make it so that this bike sounds an alarm when that happens. Rear wheel is locked. Can't move it. Now, because I'm super nerdy and I love my in-depth reviews, I could probably spend another 20 minutes going over all the software features of this bike, but that's gonna make this video way too long. So if you did wanna check all of that out, I made a separate video going over all of those details, and I'll leave that video linked in the description below. This display is on the smaller side and it comes with these almost like guards on each side. And that's actually for a great reason. This is a dirt bike. You're gonna be bringing it through the woods, on the trails. It's going to have to be able to take some abuse. And if this bike had a huge giant display, yes, it would look cool, but it would likely break on the trail. And now that's something else that you're gonna have to replace. So good design choice on Segway's part in mounting something that's gonna be extra durable and less likely to break. For suspension, we have a very premium, long travel, inverted Marzuki fork. These plastic covers on each side. This fork is fully adjustable on both sides. Big, beefy through axle mount, clamped down at the bottom. And look at that, we've got a little bit of space right here where you can push these stanchions down if you want, which will allow you to get a slightly more upright angle on the bike in case that's something you want. And in the rear, we get a huge coilover spring, also Marzuki branded. We've got a mud flap back here to make sure dirt isn't sprayed into your suspension. It's fully adjustable using these spanner nuts. And this is one of the few bikes that actually does come with a spanner wrench, allowing you to adjust the spring tension. It's actually the first bike I've ever had that comes with that wrench. So huge props to Segway for giving us that. Down here, we've got our super official high-tech suspension linkage. That's gonna really give this bike a nice feeling ride. And on this side, we have a suspension reservoir. And the suspension is very premium feeling, very soft but supportive, and it features 220 millimeters of travel. For brakes, we get legit motorcycle brakes with motorcycle brake levers, which are adjustable here, and they even have a fluid reservoir. It says you can only use .3 or .4 fluid. Check out these brake lines. Look at this. This goes all the way down here, down this fork. Check out these huge 220 millimeter rotors. And these rotors are about 3 millimeters thick, maybe even a little bit more. And they come with these huge, big, red quad piston brake calipers with big, beefy brake pads inside. Same exact setup in the back. And this bike also does come with adjustable coasting regen, which will allow you to save some of your brake pad material and give you a little bit of your energy back. For wheels, we get a 19-inch front wheel and a 17-inch rear wheel with these thick motorcycle spokes. And of course, this is a dirt bike, so you're gonna get these knobby tires. These are CST branded tires. Here's the size of the front, and here's the size of the back. This back tire is thicker than the front. The hubs on these wheels do look beefy and robust. Same thing on the front, and it's actually great that it's on the wider side because that'll give this wheel some lateral stability. I've seen some electric dirt bikes where this wheel hub is on the narrower side and the whole wheel bent because there wasn't enough lateral support on the spokes connecting the wheel to the hub. This bike comes with a 520 chain with a plastic shroud up top to protect it. This chain is super durable and crazy thick. On top, we get some info on tire pressure and how to maintain proper chain tension, which is actually pretty simple. As you ride a bike with a brand new chain, the chain is gonna stretch just a little bit, and all you have to do is to first loosen this axle nut. And on both sides, there's a bolt like this that you turn to the left, which is gonna slowly push the axle backwards just a tiny bit. We get some notches right here as a reference point, and that way you'll have perfect chain tension. You get a chain guide underneath and a rolling chain tensioner right above the kickstand. This bike comes with a 44 tooth rear sprocket. A lot of people change these out based on your riding style. If you wanted a slightly higher top speed but less low end torque, you put a smaller sprocket on, and if you want the opposite, you put a bigger sprocket on. And here is gonna be our 72 volt, 44 amp hour battery. Let's take a closer look. To take the battery out, you unlatch the top, and then this whole cover lifts up. Check this out. This bike even has a little hydraulic lift for the battery cover. Here's our main power connector to the 72 volt, 44 amp hour battery. To take the battery out, unlock the power connector. And if you push it, it'll unlock even more. And then we'll use the handle to take that out. I like to cover the battery terminals up if at all possible. And from there, you just pull on the handle and the whole battery will come out. And here's what the battery looks like. Here's our charge port on the side. And that charge port is exposed when the battery is in the bike, so you can easily charge up when the battery is in or out of the bike. Solid metal construction. Got our metal casing on the side. Charge level indicator right up top. And here's what the label looks like on the side of the battery. The bottom of the battery does have these rubber areas as well. That's gonna make it so you don't scratch the bike up, and it will also help with dampening vibration-related sounds. And the weight of this battery is just about 44 pounds. Once the battery is removed, you can get a better look at the motor. And this is Segway's motor, specially designed for this bike. There is no primary reduction belt on this bike, although there are gears in the motor, and that'll make it so that this bike is easy to maintain. At most, you might need to change the gear oil once a year. Here's what the label looks like on the motor. See those three main phase wires that go right into the controller back here. That little silver guide down there, that is most likely the 12 volt buck converter. That'll take 72 volts and bring it down to 12 volts, because on motorcycles, a lot of lights run off of 12 volts.
We got some more rubber areas in the frame to help with shock absorption and dampening. Let's see what this controller looks like. Here's what's behind that plastic part that protects the controller. I love how all of the terminals are nicely protected with rubber covers. Look at those wires, those are giant. And here is the label on that controller.
And if the advertised peak power of this bike is 21,000 watts, you divide that by the full charge of a 72 volt battery, which means this controller is going to peak at about 250 amps. And for a charger, you get an actively cooled 9 amp charger. But if you look at that, it says at 200 or 240 volts, which is what a level 2 car charging station would charge at, you can charge up at 12.5 amps. And to translate all of that into plain English, at that higher voltage, you're gonna get an additional 300 watts of peak charging output, which is almost 40% more than if you were charging this bike on a standard house outlet. Just remember that generally speaking, charging a battery slowly is going to increase the lifespan of the battery. Something else that you can adjust is the max percentage charge of the battery. So in the app, you can actually make it so that this battery charges no higher than maybe 80 or 85%. So if you want to squeeze the absolute most life out of this battery, don't charge it to 100%, limit it at maybe 80 or 85%, and use that standard wall outlet. And you can also adjust the charging rate of this bike. You can slow that down as well. That way you'll get many years from this battery, and it won't degrade nearly as fast versus if you always fast charge it to 100%.
This bike is advertised to have a top speed of 60 miles an hour. Stay tuned because we're going to test that in the next video where we do our official acceleration, hill climb, and top speed tests for all the power modes of this bike. I may or may not have, allegedly, performed a paved surface range test on this bike, potentially even on a route similar to this video right here, where the traveling speeds would be between 30 to 50 miles per hour. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can get a better look at what that route might look like. In this purely fictional test, the first leg of this range test was about 16 miles done in power level mode 2, which is 200cc, with a weak regen setting, which brought the bike down to exactly 50% battery. For the second leg of the ride, the 150cc power level mode was used with a strong regen setting. This extended my range to just over 20 miles until the bike had nothing left and it stopped giving any power. This brought the total mileage of this fictional test to just about 37 miles, but I suspect that if mode 1 was used the whole time, with that stronger regen setting, the mileage would have crossed into the 40 to 45 mile range. And remember, always follow your local laws and regulations for guidance as to where you can legally ride your electric dirt bike.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out here on the new Segway Xaber X300 electric dirt bike. We're gonna test this bike out a bit, see how it does. First thing I'm noticing again is just how good the throttle feels on this bike. Lots of really precise control, love it. And right now I'm on 150 mode. Obviously this is pretty much flat ground. You don't need anything too crazy for this. But this thing has so much power. 21 kilowatts of power is more than probably 99% of people will ever need or even want. Sometimes it's tough to even use that power because you just end up looping the bike. But however, this bike has some interesting features. I think it's either in the works or it's out now, where it actually cuts your power if it senses the bike is looping out. It has a way to sense the angle of the bike, because so many people loop their bikes for whatever reason. Sometimes the bike starts going up and then you're holding onto the throttle and you're leaning back and then you end up pulling the throttle even more and you forget to hit the brake lever to cut the power and it's a disaster. Talking about the suspension on this bike, the Marzocchi suspension, so much travel on it, tons and tons of travel on it. Plus the tires going down all of these rocks, feels really good. Very confidence inspiring. Climbing up this, no sweat. Even on 150cc, I still haven't left that mode. Going up all these rocks. Oh yeah. Wow. That's insane. That is actually ridiculous. And look at this. So right now I'm on a hill. I was about to go backwards. It's got hill assist. It's holding me on this hill. What a treat. That's so awesome. Let's bump it up to the next mode, which is 200. Oh yeah, we got the power. Well, you do want to be careful here with all these rocks and roots. But this thing makes such quick work out of anything. Unbelievable. Wow. This is crazy. Look at this. And I know this bike also has traction control, so if you don't want to be sliding around all over the place with the rear wheel, you can always use it. Let's try and get the rear tire to spin out. Here we go. Yeah, it really cuts the power. Wow. It still wants to go, but it stutters a bit. Wow. This bike has reverse. I hold the reverse button, use the throttle, slowly takes me backwards. Nice. Brakes are very, very good. Wow. With these tires, the brakes actually can do something, because your brakes are only as good as the tires. And obviously we're off-roading. This bike has big chunky tires, big knobbies. Not the best for street riding. Even though this bike has a lot of power, it is, I would say, probably very beginner friendly. There's so many ways to have it grow with your skill level and how advanced of a rider you are. Because obviously you have the power modes, but then you have that wheelie feature that I mentioned where it limits if you can loop the bike or not. You can adjust all the power levels, and it's not too heavy. I mean, it's on the heavier side for one of these electric dirt bikes. I'd say it's like a mid-sized electric dirt bike. Not as light as a Suron, not as heavy as a Varg. Man, this bike is just so confidence inspiring. And I'm a newbie, guys. So if I can do this on this bike, so can you. The wheel size, some people might say that it needs a bigger front wheel, maybe also a bigger back wheel. But again, what's nice about this being, I guess, kind of mid-size, maybe a little bit on the smaller side, is that it's really easy to reach the ground, and overall it just feels more nimble. It just feels perfectly balanced in the sense of weight and wheel size and how much you can throw this bike around. I do have regen on. See that? I do have the regen set to strong also. So with the regen, you can get a little bit more juice back into your battery, or at least save your brake pads. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like even that's plenty of power for me at 200. But this thing has 2 more modes. The power levels on these electric dirt bikes nowadays are just crazy. I really like this 200 level. Oh baby, we got the power, folks. The battery size in this bike is pretty solid. Maybe like a medium to large size battery, 44 amp hour, 72 volt battery. High discharge cells, which is actually gonna give you more range than cheap battery cells, because they're going to be stressless. That's something that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't understand that battery cell quality will give the same amp hour rating battery more range than a bike that has cheap cells. Oh, this is what's up. I like this. I did an initial impressions video on a trail near my house, and it was, I think the trail is kind of a little too technical to really open this bike up like this. Too narrow, too many twists and turns, but this is, you can just fly on this. Checking out the next power level, which is 300. Oh boy. Yikes. But it still feels good. Oh man, you might need traction control for this mode. And this isn't even the highest power. Oh wow. Yeah, we have traction control off. So right now, the tire is definitely slipping in the back. And then there's, of course, beast mode. Jeez. That's for the most advanced riders. Wow. That's nuts. I'm probably never gonna use that mode. But it's there if my skill does grow, if I do get better and better at dirt biking, that option is there. Ride this bike around a little bit more with the traction control on. I'm curious how that feels just with this moderate speed riding. I love this hill parking. This is so nice. What a treat. Traction control, enable. And remember, all these settings and then 5 million more you can adjust in the app. There's so much tech in this bike, from security to adjusting your power levels, to adjusting what the power feels like, the traction control, the brakes, the lights. It even has sensors for sensing the wheelie angle. Unreal. Oh, this feels so good. This is so nice. I'm not even big on dirt biking, and I am really enjoying myself. I could see myself doing this a lot more on this bike. I've done it before on similar roads, similar bikes, and for some reason, this bike just feels so refined with the throttle response and the suspension tune, the tires and the brakes. Just so confidence inspiring. Will this bike power wheelie? 1000%, of course it will. At 150 level, sitting in the middle? No, I don't think so. Maybe if you're a very small rider or you actively try and obviously pull up, that's different. At 200, sitting in the middle? Maybe. I'm 200 pounds, so I don't know. Yeah, I felt the front wheel. Yeah, go up. And at 300? For sure. And then obviously beast mode will make this bike fly. Look at this hill assist again. And as soon as you're ready to go, you just hit the throttle. Instantly, you get power. Brakes. Yeah, letting the regen work at this point. Should probably turn that off if you're doing stuff like this. I've ridden a few dirt bikes here or there, but I've never had this much confidence in riding one like this. I feel like you're always usually dealing with some unique, we'll just call it a feature of the bike that just doesn't make you comfortable enough to really let it rip. But this one just feels like it's a part of your body. You feel so much more connected to this than other bikes, at least that I've tried. You can tell Segway really took their time in testing this bike and perfecting it. It took them a while to release something new after the last dirt bikes, but I think it's worth it. Based on how this thing feels, oh man, this is so nice. Tires feel good, suspension feels great. Oh, and the power. And we're on 200 mode. Tons of power still. Prices of these e-bikes are always fluctuating based on whatever sale could be going on, so to get the most up-to-date price, check the link in the description below, or use your smartphone to scan the QR code on the screen, which will bring you straight to the bike's website. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the new Segway X300 electric dirt bike. Believe it or not, these companies, they do read the comments and sometimes they even respond, so if you would like to make your thoughts known to Segway, leave a comment below. I try and respond to every one of my comments if I can. If I'm not at my full-time job, I pretty much spend all of my free time running this little electric bike and dirt bike review channel for you guys. So if you want to support the channel, but you don't want to buy this bike, and if I've earned it, please subscribe to the channel. If I've earned your subscription, like the video if you like it. Smash the notification bell and smash the hype button in the YouTube app to boost the video and algorithm. Thank you so much. That is it for today, folks. Until next time.